I'm Alex.
And I'm Teddy.
And we are
The Button Mappers.
Hey, the Button Mappers. Button Mappers.
Welcome to the Button Mappers.
The only show on the internet that's 100% FDA approved.
FDA? What's that? Federal Department of... I was going to say a bad word, but I didn't.
It's fuck, dude, the arcade.
Well, shit, you already said the bad word for me.
We're talking about arcade games today, or the arcade experience. You know,
I do.
What the whole gaming landscape started as.
Mm-hmm. Classic, taking
arcades.
It back to the Pac days. You haven't played Pac-Man until you've played it in the arcades.
You're right, and I want to go ahead and put this out here. I'm super congested, so if I sound funny, that's why. Because I'm really congested. But yeah, dude, the arcade. And I find the arcade to be really interesting, and like really cool topic, and because we just talk about consoles, or we talk about Sega company and stuff, or like stuff like that. But the arcade's almost like a completely different like experience,
Tell me, what's your experience with the arcades?
I've only had a few. Of course, like growing up, like arcades were pretty much dead by the time I was old enough to like care. Like every once in a while, I would find a place that had like some old arcade games or some new arcade games that like to play, but they definitely weren't like as relevant as they were whenever like my parents were younger. And I think it's really cool to be able to go back and play some of those old games whenever I do find them.
What were some of those old games for you?
Oh, dude, my favorite arcade game of all time is Galaga, straight up. I every time I find a Galaga machine, I just sit there and play it. I was actually at an arcade in Gatlinburg one time.
Gatlinburg, you're going to have to fill me in. Where's that?
Tennessee.
Okay.
And I was like a teenager, and my dad sat there. I have a picture of this. I can send it to your way so you can put it in the video. My dad sat there and watched me play Galaga, and I came so close to getting the high score on the machine. Like I was so freaking close to it. I was like level 20 something.
Wow.
Yeah, it was it's a really memorable experience.
I know on our PS4 comparisons for the Pac-Man Championship Edition, you destroy me as far as like the Galaga competitions.
I love Galaga. It's a good game. But other than that, like I've had like some experience with arcade games. This year, I went to Tennessee again. I went to Nashville, and there's a little arcade place. I think it was called Game Galaxy, and they actually had like hundreds of classic arcade games and pinball machines, and you just pay them like $12 for a day, and you just play all day for free. Like it was a really awesome experience, and I got to play games like I've played before, like Donkey Kong, Crazy Taxi, those kind of games. And I've played games I've never played before, like or at least the arcade version. Like I played Dragon Spirit. That's an awesome game, and I've never seen an arcade cabinet for that game.
Mm-hmm. You've got the spirit. That arcade.
What's your arcade experience?
So I'll take it back to the days, man. Back in the days, straight out of Dead Thumbs, Back in the days, man, the movies. I used to go to the movies, and they had a couple of cabinets there. It's not like nowadays where it's like you pay $1 for like a photo booth. Although I guess that's something you did back in the days too.
Or like a claw machine.
Yeah, some stupid gimmicky take your money type thing. No, they actually had arcade games before you went to the movie theater. So I used to love going to the movie theaters, and before we would go see the movie, I just, some of my distinct memories of games were like the rail gun games. So like you'd sit in the little cabinet and then like you'd shoot at like Jurassic Park dinosaurs or something, which I've actually seen a few of those cabinets recently. But I remember like the racing games, the arcade racers. I have no idea what these games were, but it's like the ones where you're driving through like an aquarium, like under the water, and you see like sharks and stuff swimming above you, or in some like tropical area. Man, I'm nostalgic for like that arcade racer. It really is. I guess it's why I appreciate some of the Sega consoles a little more and some of the Sega racers, because they really do hit home as far as racing games.
Well, I think with our perspective, on gaming, you and I are arcade fans without even really needing to be in the arcade as much, because we still enjoy those games that have sort of like the arcade feel to them. Like the classic, like short run, like kind of like see how far you can get, see how far you can play games.
We can definitely distinguish what is the arcade experience, though. Like if it's on home console or if it's in the arcades. Like the high scores, the short gameplay bursts. If you go on like the Switch online service and you filter for arcade games, they put some bullshit in there. It's not arcades,
Yeah.
They'll put like just some straight action game. I'm like, this is not really an arcade game, but there's definitely that nostalgia. There's that classic feel. This is old school, and it's just about the fun.
Exactly. It's really interesting because I've once again going back to Galaga, I've played Galaga 1,000 times on 1,000 different consoles. Like I have it on like the PS1, my 3DS, PS4 or whatever else, Switch. So I've played that game a million times, but for some reason, seeing the arcade cabinet is just special. It's just like it gets me excited for a game that I played 100 times.
I agree, man. That's how I feel about Miss Pac-Man. I went to the San Francisco Fisherman's Wharf back in like 2014. I saw this Pac-Man cabinet. I was playing with one hand, recording with the other, and I remember setting the high score on that, and I just felt so good. It's like a really fun game to play with a joystick, and not like some cheaply made joystick. It's like actually like straight hardware, straight in the cabinet. And it's like, egalitarian. It feels good. Those buttons, you can really, hear the clicks when you press down on them. I guess you don't really have to do that for Pac-Man, but you know what I mean. There's just like, when you're in front of a cabinet, it's got a feel to it, and it feels good.
Oh yeah, well it's it's like have you ever like walked into, for example, the movie theater or like something else like that? Like I know I've walked in like a bowling alley and I've heard like the thunderous roar of like a certain cabinet, like Hydro Thunder or something, and it's just like playing the music, and I look over and I'm just like, because like it's like it like draws your attention. You're like, whoa, what is this? And then it's just kind of like like it's just something else.
I know exactly, because some cabinets are just so loud. Like once you start playing, you're like, holy shit, man.
Yeah.
Are people listening to this?
Yeah. It just booms. I know that's how the fucking Crazy Taxi cabinet was that I played in Tennessee. It was just like I started up and it was like, yeah, let's get going, ha! And it was like, yeah, and I was like, Jesus Christ, this is loud.
It's crazy. Crazy Taxi.
And I think there's a reason why I think arcades are kind of like making a resurgence in a sense. Not really arcades, but the arcade experience, because like you can go to Walmart now and buy like those one-up arcade like cabinets and stuff. Like people pay like $300 for these things. Like you build them yourself, and they're games like you have on other consoles, like Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat and stuff. But I mean, people are still paying $300 for these things, to have that arcade experience.
I mean, shoot, if you want to take it to like the Vectrex, but also, I've never owned a Vectrex, by the way, but that always seemed kind of cool to me. And that thing is, if you want to collect for that thing, forget about it. Good luck even ever seeing a Vectrex game in the wild.
It's like the Neo Geo.
Sure, Neo Geo. That's another one that I think is hard to collect for, but there's definitely like a niche market for it. Personally, I would love to own a cabinet one day, when I'm really like settled. How about you?
Definitely. It's something I've actually thought about something like that recently. I know my buddy Ash from Retro Rewind, he's gotten his hands on a few cabinets. I think right now he has one multi-cade cabinet that has a bunch of like classic games, and then he has one actual cabinet that's PAL, the SNK game PAL, which I actually play that game on the SNK anniversary thing. But it's actually a really cool beat 'em up cabinet, and whenever I go to the store, I usually spend a few minutes playing that cabinet. So it's something that I've thought about. Now that I have room for one now, and I've thought about getting one, but it's always been like, what cabinet would I get? Like, should I buy one that's in rough shape and fix it up, or should I just spend the money about a good one?
Or get the Neo Geo where it's like replaceable. You pick the
I would love
games.
a Neo Geo, dude. Like that, I would absolutely love a Neo Geo. I've actually been like looking through the Neo Geo library because a lot of those titles are available on Switch for like $7 a piece. So I've actually been playing some of those games like Sonic Wings 2 and a few games like that. And I would absolutely love to own a Neo Geo cabinet.
Can I ask you this? If you could pick between owning like a distinguished cabinet that plays like even whether it's like 4 games or 1 game, or getting a MAME cabinet. You know what a MAME cabinet is?
Yeah, I know what a MAME cabinet is.
I guess it's like you emulate the games to some kind of hard drive or something, and then that goes in the MAME, and then you could just play anything that you want. What would you pick?
That's a hard choice. I guess it depends on the price point. Ideally, I would like to just own an actual cabinet for a game that I appreciate. So something like Galaga or Virtual Fighter or or a SNK cabinet or something. But I don't know. The MAME cabinet might be a better. It'd be more cost effective probably. If I had a choice. If I found a MAME cabinet for cheap, or or somebody was like selling their old one for cheap, I would definitely scoop it up. I think.
Okay.
But if I'm paying premium price, I want like an actual arcade cabinet, like something that like is more of like a good like piece to just kind of like show off.
Yeah, that's that collector mentality. I have that too. It's like tried and true Kong right here. I'm trying to get that DK set, or Donkey Kong Arcade or whatever, DKJ.
Yeah.
My boy Junior in the building.
DKJ. What's your opinion on pinball?
Oh man, I suck at pinball. Like actual pinball, I suck at.
Yeah.
But I love pinball games. Like I love what was it? Dragon's Revenge. Revenge of the Gators, all right. There's definitely some poor. They're not conversions, but like pinball video games. Like I'm not a big fan of Spinball. I wish I liked it more, but I just don't. And I like the Sonic games, but that one never translated over well for me.
I never really had an experience to play a lot of pinball machines until I was in Tennessee, and the place that I went to, they had like 150 something pinball cabinets and stuff, like all set up. And most of them worked. So, like, if you were out of order, of course, because you got that many, you can't maintain them all. But a lot of them worked, and they had stuff from like the 60s and 70s up to like current stuff. And it was really interesting going back and playing a lot of those because I didn't think I really appreciated pinball till then. I played pinball games and I'm like, oh, it's just fun. But like, I really got into it, and like I was playing one that was like a pinball machine based on Dirty Harry, and I swear I stayed at that machine for like an hour, just playing that one machine, and it's kind of like until you really have a chance to really experience a pinball machine right there, right, like in person for a long amount of time, like you can't really pick up how the game plays until then, because like certain pinball machines like have their own rules and they have their own feel, and it's really interesting.
I believe you. To me, it feels like to appreciate pinball, you have to be someone who appreciates the Atari, or like that generation of gaming.
Wow,
which, makes total sense. But I think it's also a thing you have to try first and like commit to, because if I went to Coney Island recently in New York. And there's a whole section of arcade games. There's like a modern section, and then there's like a whole classic wall of arcade cabinets. And at the arcade cabinets, I want to stop and play like a bunch of them. Like I wanted to play some Double Dragon. I wanted to play like some of the fighting games. I wanted to play 1942. But there was a section for pinball games, and I'm just kind of like, I didn't even want to stop in and see them. Like I kind of did, but I was like, is this really that important to me? And I think part of my other thing too is like the memorability of some of these pinball games. They don't really have like a legacy that's familiar to me. Like I know Double Dragon because that game stays in conversation, and I had never played it, but I knew, this is a 2-player beat 'em up. So me and Chantal, we're gonna play, and we're gonna like just see how far we get off a quarter. But pinball. If you tell me about like the memorable pinball titles, I really can't tell you one. Maybe Star Wars. I don't know.
Black Hole is a good one.
Yeah, I mean, I know like Williams, but I also know like they're a little stylistically. I don't have any attachment to them. How do you feel about the appeal of the pinball machine?
it's funny because my sister was at the arcade with me, and and we stayed at that arcade for about 6 hours because once again, you just pay $12 and you get to play all the games for free. Like, it's a good deal. So we just stayed there most of the day, and I was shocked because like she played some of the actual arcade games, like we played some Crazy Taxi and some fighting games, and we played Darius, a few games like that. But then she spent most of her time playing pinball machines, and I was like, "What? Oh my gosh!" I was like, like she didn't grow up playing these games. She had never experienced pinball machines, but for some reason, she was drawn to them, like they were a fun new experience for her that she had never really had before. And after we left that day, I was like, I take it you like pinball, and she was like, I never thought I would have liked pinball as much as I do. I was like, oh, wow, that's really cool.
Can I ask you then, to what extent is an arcade if it does or does not have pinball?
I think it's still an arcade. I mean, you can still have arcade cabinets. I think what kills the definition of an arcade for me is whenever you go in and I've been to a mall in Minnesota once, and the sign said arcade, and I was like, oh cool, I'll go check that out. And I walked in and it was a couple claw machines, and I think it was a Dance Dance Revolution, and that was it. And I was like, this isn't a fucking arcade. What is this? And something like that. Or I've been in some of those places where it's they just, it's all ticket games and stuff, which I guess it's fun to try to earn the tickets and get the prizes, but what substance does most of those games have?
And respect to DDR or whatever, but those claw games, those can suck it. I hate claw games, man. Well, they rig that shit. It's you gotta grab a plastic square and then redeem it at the counter. And there's no way this flimsy 3-prong claw, even if it lands on it, is gonna pick it up and hold it. But then they show you these cool prizes in the back, like these figures. I don't know.
There was a point in my life. It was whenever I first got out of high school that I was working at Walmart, and I'm actually pretty good at the claw games for stuffed animals and stuff. And I was playing. I was on my break, and I was playing one of the claw games that they have out in the entranceway. And I got 2 stuffed animals at once, 2 bears. And I was and I drop them on the thing, and this girl behind me, she's like, "What the heck?" She's just like, "How did you do that?" And I just had these 2 stuffed bears. I turned around and "Here you go, you want them?" And she took them, and I was like, "There you go." But, so that was a cool experience. But no, I totally get what you're saying. Half of them are definitely rigged. To just kind of take your money, especially the ones where you have to grab little boxes or grab small items like that. I think some of the ones for the stuffed animals are pretty fair, I think, but again, it's just a stuffed animal though.
I have another question, kind of veering off of maybe the cheaper side of the arcades. It's more about the modern arcade versus the classic arcade.
Like Dave & Buster's or something?
Not so much, but I mean, when I was at Coney Island and checking out some of the arcades, some of the arcade sections, I'm a little congested too, so you gotta work with me here. They had stuff like Mario Kart, Grand Prix, and this massive Space Invaders, Extreme Space Invaders. Yeah. Right, and it's 2-player. You sit there with the railgun. I guess, what are some of the cooler modern innovations you've seen in the arcades?
I was at a Dave & Buster's one time, and I played the Luigi's Mansion arcade game, which is kind of like those Jurassic Park ones where you go inside and sit down. Only, of course, it's Luigi's Mansion themed, but you sit down and both of the players get a vacuum gun looking thing, and you have to shoot the well, not shoot the ghost, but suck up the ghost on the screen. It was really cool because other than playing the Mario Kart game, I hadn't seen a Nintendo modern Nintendo arcade cabinet like that, and that was a really nice experience. And it kind of made me wish that Nintendo did more of that, And they also did they did a new cruising game, which was really cool because it's cruising. But I really wish Nintendo would do more stuff like that because it really was a cool experience to play this modern Luigi's Mansion arcade machine.
Unexpected too. Like, who would have thought a Luigi's Mansion arcade cabinet?
Yeah, exactly. And like I know, like they did the Nintendo Land game when it came out with for the Wii U, and a lot of those games kind of felt like little arcade games. So I kind of wish they could have adapted some of that stuff, like a little Zelda arcade game where like two players like play, one gets a sword, one gets a shield or something, or like something like that, or like a multiplayer Metroid arcade cabinet, like something like that would be really fun.
Mm-hmm. I still kind of wish I could play F-Zero AX.
Yeah, I've never seen one of those ever.
But that would
be just like a Japanese thing? Is it just?
I have no idea what the history of it is, but I just know it's like you sit down and you race F-Zero GX, but with like the extra circuits or whatever.
Yeah, but I have played the Mario Kart ones. They're a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
Those I'm always drawn to those because they have Pac-Man characters.
And
I'm always like, heck yeah.
I was a big fan of the Space Invaders Extreme thing. Like, I was almost taken aback at how beautiful it was, and like the colors and just the sound effects. And it really is extreme. Those little buggers come down that screen so fast, and you both got to be on it as far as aiming the railgun. Those are fun. I also played this like Rayman one, which is like you hold the plunger gun, which I mean it wasn't that innovative, but it was cool. It's cool to see like a Rayman thing, yeah, or the Rabbids anyway.
I played one at the Dave & Buster's that was a newer House of the Dead game. It was like House of the Dead 5 pretty much, and I was like, whoa, because like I love House of the Dead, but from my knowledge, the last House of the Dead game was like Overkill on the Wii or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, whoa, a new House of the Dead type machine, like this is awesome. So I did play that one too, and that one was one that like really grabbed me.
And that's unexpected too.
Yeah.
If there was one arcade game you wish you could play, what would it be? Or you could list off several.
That I wish I could play?
Yeah.
That's tough, dude.
I can go first.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was thinking about, those Sega 3D classics. They do some crazy stuff with some of those arcade cabinets. I know, like, the Galaxy Force cabinet moves with you, like, while you, like, are in it, like some, like, kind of NASA shit. I don't know. That looks fun. I wouldn't mind playing an Outrun cabinet because I enjoy the racing.
I have played an Outrun cabinet.
How was it?
It was fun. I think it was a little broken though because I was looking at a campground, and so I don't think it was 100% working. But I still had fun. I was younger, so I was like, cool Sega. Yeah.
Maybe some 2-player shooter. I don't know. I've done it before. But usually it's just me.
I think one that I've always wanted to experience, and I'll probably never get a chance, is Sega Sonic the Hedgehog. I don't know if you know what that is.
I don't.
It's the arcade Sonic game that has Sonic, Mighty the Armadillo, and Ray the Flying Squirrel, and he uses a trackball. Yeah, and it's like a arcade isometric platformer game, and it's never had been ported. It's hardly ever referenced, and it's something that I really wish Sega would at least give me a way to play it, or try it. But if I ever saw that arcade machine anywhere, I would be all over that.
That does sound cool. Sonic with a trackball. I can't imagine.
I know. Of course, there's like some of the Capcom fighters would be cool. I have played a Marvel vs. Capcom 2 cabinet and stuff before. But maybe some of like the more obscure games would be kind of cool, like Captain Commando or something.
Okay. How about I don't know. What do you think are some of the staples for an arcade? Like, what are the must-haves?
Pac-Man. Baby Pac-Man. I'm just kidding. I did play Baby Pac-Man. That game was fucking weird. Have you ever seen that game before?
I don't know what it is.
It's like half Pac-Man game, half pinball machine. Yeah, it's like top screen's a Pac-Man game, and then the bottom part of the machine is a pinball machine. So you like switch up and down. It's very strange. I played that one too. Also played Truxton. That's that's a cool footnote.
Truxton.
But okay, so Pac-Man, definitely. You gotta have some Pac-Man. You gotta have some good fighters, dude. You gotta have some like either Street Fighter, Tekken, Mortal Kombat, something like that in there. I usually, every time I go to like some kind of arcade like that, they usually have a Donkey Kong. and I feel like that's a good staple.
I love the artwork on Donkey Kong. You know what another one is too?
What?
That we played this on some of the compilations, which is kind of a hint for a video coming up, but I won't say more about that. Centipede.
Oh yeah.
Centipede
Dude,
has great artwork.
The Atari. I'm always drawn to those 1-up cabinets because they have the Atari games. Like they're doing one this year that's the Star Wars arcade games, and I've actually played those, and those look so cool.
What are the 1-up cabinets?
The ones at Walmart that you buy and you put together for like $300.
I see.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, they're the one. The company's called 1-up. Yeah, but they still retain the artwork, and I've always seen those, and I'm always like, oh, those are so cool. Like, yeah. What else? I love Midway. So games like Rampage, always a good one. Games like Gauntlet. Gauntlet is beautiful because Gauntlet always. I wasn't playing the original Gauntlet. I was playing. I think it's Gauntlet Legends. But it's a big ass cabinet, and it has four spots for 4 players all around it, and it's such a big, beautiful, loud cabinet. Yeah, and like Midway always knew how to like make cabinets that kind of drew your attention like that.
Can you play that with 4 people?
Yeah.
On a cabinet?
It's a 4-player. I mean, of course, there's other beat 'em up cabinets like the X-Men arcade game or games like that have 4 players. But Gauntlet's always one that kind of stuck out to me because I love the Gauntlet series. What else? I played Bubble Bobble. And I think that's a really fun game. That's a really good game, and that's one that I don't really see that often.
In a cabinet, especially. Like I see that on a lot of compilations and such. But
I guess the question here is that for the people at home that have never experienced arcade games, do you think it's necessary?
I think. What do I think for them? I think you should try an arcade cabinet. I guess my question is, I mean, yeah, the people who've never experienced it, but most of them are young, right? Do you think the youth can appreciate the arcade?
I don't know. I've seen some of those arcades try to kind of like reach out. I know back in the day they had like a doodle jump arcade machine, and it's just like those kind of like mobile, or like Fruit Ninja, those like mobile apps. And I'm like, do these really translate well to the arcade experience? It's kind of like a reverse. So it's like back in the day, they would take an arcade game and port it to console. This is almost like they're taking a phone game and porting it to the arcade. And it's like, does this really work for that? So that's kind of like what I'm afraid of for like younger generation, is that it's not going to hold their attention. Like the kids that play Fortnite, like, are they really going to want to, go spend their money playing an old arcade game?
I'll tell you what, I feel like there are cabinets that do it well, that cater to young kids, because I was at the arcade just like 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, and kids were playing Mario Kart. They're like, "Look, Ma, Mario Kart." And then, the mom would fork over some quarters and he'd go play. Or if it was the Space Invaders or the Jurassic Park railgun game. I feel like for me, the arcade was not something I was like able to go walk to. And, some kids might have that might be their experience with the arcades, especially like before our time even. I think you mentioned that at the beginning of the video, like it was almost before our time a little bit, but we still got a taste of it. I think what's important is that, arcades still exist in some fashion and are able to provide that glimpse into that culture, whether it's, modernized or not. But I mean, obviously, like, don't take like, I think I saw a Flappy Bird machine. I'm like, okay, like I'm not going to play that. And I don't think that's a fair rendition of arcade culture. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm jaded, because I think it's a phone game. Maybe it actually does contain some of that, like put another quarter in and see how, like, what your high score is.
Have you ever played H2 Overdrive?
H2 Overdrive, is that on a console?
No, it's arcade exclusive.
I'm not sure. I have to look it up.
It's fucking brilliant. It's a newer arcade machine, like newer meaning like 2012, 13, around there. And it's worked on by people that worked on the original like Hydro Thunder and games like that. And they make they had a handful of arcade machines around that time, but they made arcade exclusive games with like these big HD screens. They were nice and loud. They had things where you could save your game with like a key code. Yeah, so you can come back later and keep playing or like keep your progress. And it was a really nice like modern take on the arcade experience. Like it felt like playing like a 90s 3D racing game, but in the modern age, like, you know, for us, like for the modern audience. And it kind of makes me wish like more companies would try to kind of do stuff like that.
Excuse me. I mean, you know, I love those racers. I spent like nearly 3 game talks talking about them.
Yeah, that's true. So, yeah, the arcades. I think it's an interesting topic.
How about the arcades at home? Like, besides the arcade, you know, the physical manifestation of a cabinet, what about like on console? Like, what do you think are maybe some standout ways to experience arcade culture on console?
Like elaborate, like playing old arcade games on console.
Yeah, I guess like what are the hits and misses of playing arcade on console?
You definitely lose something with the authenticity. I can tell you one thing for sure: playing Galaga with a D-pad and playing Galaga with an arcade joystick, 2 totally different things.
Or even like Defender with a trackball versus Defender with a, or is it Missile Command?
Missile Command has trackball.
Yeah, Missile Command with the trackball, or Missile Command with a joystick. Forget it.
Yeah, or Tempest, you know, with the dial, or Tempest with the joystick. It's just like, you can still kind of experience some of those arcade classics, and it's still fun. Don't get me wrong. Like, I love playing Crystal Castles, but Crystal Castles is meant for a trackball. You know, it's kind of what you need to kind of enjoy the game. So, yeah, I don't know. It's a weird subject. Talk about arcade ports. I think some do it okay. Some like the beat 'em ups or games like that, or you know, even the racing games.
Any favorites?
I mean, I haven't mentioned it. The Galaga.
How about it's a famous land.
No. Oh man.
I could give you a clue.
I guess we got to bring it up because it was an arcade cabinet before it was a fucking NES game.
Let me give you 2 clues.
I want you to
understand.
If I ever see a Clue Land arcade cabinet, I'm not playing it.
You know what you can do is you can graffiti over the title. You could just put fuck
it.
Yeah, and then Clue Land.
It's man.
I'm sure it has great artwork though.
I don't know. I've never seen the cabinet, so I wouldn't know.
It's all the rage these days.
I'm sure it's not cooler than like the Mortal Kombat 2 cabinet where Raiden's like, oh, and like holding the thunder, you know.
Be a great fatality.
Yeah.
You're strapped to a chair and have to play Clue Land to I swallow that.
That is a fatality. That should be in the next Mortal Kombat. They mean, like you play Clue Land till you die. That's the fatality.
Which character would get that?
People at home, what are some of your favorite arcade games? What are your arcade experience? Did you grow up with the arcade? Did you never get to experience the arcade? What are some of the games you wanted to play? You know, give us your lowdown.
Yeah, give us the memories. Tell us your favorite arcade, where you've gone. Let's map this country and this continent and this earth that we live on.
This earth. I would love to go to Japan because I know they have a really rich arcade culture still.
But Mapper Vacation 2020, let's go.
Let's go. Arcade, Tokyo. That'd be a really cool experience because like it'd be cool to go somewhere where they still have that rich arcade culture. Yeah. Here it's kind of like a novelty. Here it's like you see one, you're like, whoa, hold on, I gotta play this for a minute before I get my pizza or whatever. But in Japan it's like, oh, it's Tuesday night. This is the night I go to the arcade.
Happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday. Anyway, thanks for listening, guys. Thanks for listening to the ramble about arcade games. I'm sorry, I'm congested.
Congested with arcade culture.
Congested with arcade classics, man. You guys should pick up some of the arcade games on the Switch. I've been playing Sonic Wings 2, also known as Aero Fighter 2. It's a great shoot 'em up game. Fantastic. You could play as a dolphin flying an airplane, so there's that.
I'm sold.
Do you have any recommendations, Teddy, for an arcade game?
Don't get. I don't even know if this is an arcade game, but don't get the Monkey King or whatever. It's not. I don't know if it's Monkey King. It's like, God, it's this spaceship shooter but it's like a monkey on a cloud, and it's bad. It's really bad. Don't get it. It's like $5, but it's not worth it. Is it worth it?
What about like?
It's not worth it.
Arcade ports, like modern arcade ports. Is there one you would recommend?
I do like the Virtua Racing one. I would like to see a few more of that vein. I would like to see more cruising games.
Ooh,
yeah. I guess I could play them on the 64, but I am kind of waiting for, to see what comes.
Cool. Don't forget to pick up your copy of Columns 2 out on the Switch now. Available now. I think Sega did that to spite you, Teddy.
I have no words for Sega at this time.
I think M2 was like listening to our videos, and they were like, "We got to put out more columns. This kid wants more columns."
They were like, "Oh, people want more Sega classics, like Columns 2."
Yeah, we could be putting out like Golden Axe the Duel, or these really obscure arcade games no one's really tried before, like Sega Sonic, whatever. And
that's right. No one played the sequel to Columns. It's like a hidden
gem. It's a hidden gem.
It's a hidden gem. You can literally match the hidden gems if you just press the button.
MJR, watch out! We got a new hidden gem.
On the come out. Yeah, I better see that covered in this next spotlight.
Today we have hidden gems. Today we have a really cool game here on MGR. We have the Columns 2. It's really nice. It's kind of like Columns 1 or Columns 3, but it's the second one, and it's I never hear anybody talk about this one, and it's really unique. It's really special.
I wonder why don't people talk about this?
Can it really be that different? Like, did you play Columns 3?
Did you play Columns 1?
Yeah, I played Columns 1,000 times.
Yeah, I played it twice.
The music's great. The song's great in this game. But, can Columns 2 really be that fucking different?
Did they even put the first one on?
No, they didn't. I guess they were like, I guess you can get it in the Sega Classics thing. And I think Columns 3 is on there too, isn't it?
Yeah.
Shit. So maybe that's why they were like, we have to complete the trilogy. They have the Columns trilogy.
This is part of history.
I know I have Super Columns in the Game Gear.
Huh.
It's pretty super. It's just columns again. It's just fucking columns.
God damn it, Columns.
Well, I guess we should probably wrap things up.
Sure. Go subscribe for more Matt-worthy column loving.
We'll be our map out for columns next week.
Clue. I end there. That's where I'm done. I can't finish clue. Yeah. It's my final word. Could you imagine if Clue Land and Columns had a baby?
Oh, Lord. Columns Land.
I'll leave you with that.
It's like a seventh circle of hell. Like Dante's Inferno.
There's no escape. Nobody asked for this.
That's like what they give like prisoners in like Alcatraz. They just like play the Columns music.
Hey, I heard you love gaming. Well, you gotta try this one. Make it stop.
Oh, my ears. Can we just close out with the Columns song?
Ready on 3.
I mean, like, can you just play it? It's a beautiful song. I mean, we can
do it
sing
with
along
me.
to it.
Ready? I don't actually know.
It's pretty bad. Okay, we're hitting 40 minutes. Bye, everybody.
See ya.
Hey y'all, don't forget to subscribe to them button mappers.